Donald Trump.
And sparking outrage. Dorian.
People say he's saved now, but he becomes really on fire for Jesus.
For organized change, we await an age most sinister.
In 2024, the world stands on the brink of monumental change. Prophecies, some ancient and others more recent, seem to be converging on this very moment in history. But what does this mean for us? Are we witnessing the fulfillment of biblical predictions and the realization of visions seen by seers and prophets centuries ago? In this video, we'll dive deep into 10 prophecies that may soon come to pass. Prophecies that could reshape our world as we know it. Some of you might wonder, why now? Why 2024? Why America? Why Donald Trump? The answer lies within the pages of sacred texts and the words of prophets whose visions have eerily aligned with the events of our time. From the corridors of the Vatican to the chambers of Buckingham Palace, from the political storm surrounding Donald Trump to the global stage where nations teeter on the edge of conflict, each of these prophecies holds a piece of the puzzle that could define our future. But what if these are more than just predictions? What if these are warnings, urging humanity to prepare for what's to come? Could we be living in the final days prophesied in the Bible? The year 2024 is not just another chapter in history. It could be the turning point that leads us into a period of unprecedented turmoil, or perhaps a time of redemption and renewal. So, what are these prophecies, and how close are we to seeing them fulfilled? We'll start with one of the most chilling predictions, the prophecy of the last pope. A vision that, if true, could signal the end of an era for the Catholic Church and the beginning of a new and uncertain chapter for the world. But that's just the beginning. As we move forward, we'll unravel prophecies concerning some of the most powerful figures in the world today, including a look at what might be in store for Donald Trump. Are these merely coincidences, or are we truly on the verge of something much bigger? The answers may lie hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered. Stay with us as we count down the 10 prophecies that are about to fulfill, because this could be the most important video you watch this year. The Last Pope Prophecy. The prophecy of the last pope is one of the most intriguing and chilling predictions to have emerged from the annals of history. According to Saint Malachy, a 12th century Irish bishop, there would be exactly 112 popes before the world reaches its end. What makes this prophecy particularly unsettling is that Pope Francis, the current head of the Roman Catholic Church, is believed to be the 112th pope. Saint Malachy's prophecy, a series of short, cryptic Latin phrases, was allegedly written during his pilgrimage to Rome. These phrases were meant to describe the destiny of each pope from Celestine II, who was appointed in 1143, up to the present day. Despite being suppressed for over 300 years by the Roman Catholic Church, the prophecies were eventually published in 1595 and have since gained a reputation for their uncanny accuracy. 90% of the prophecies have reportedly come true. The prophecy describes Pope Francis as Petrus Romanus, or Peter the Roman. According to Saint Malachy, Peter the Roman would preside over the church during a time of great tribulation, after which the city of Rome, often referred to as the City of Seven Hills, would be destroyed. This final pope, the prophecy suggests, will lead the church during the end times, culminating in the Last Judgment. To understand the gravity of this prophecy, it's important to consider its implications. If Pope Francis is indeed the last pope, this could mean that we are approaching the final chapter in the history of the Catholic Church and, possibly, the world itself. The destruction of Rome, as predicted in the prophecy, is also mentioned in the Bible, specifically in the book of Revelation. Revelation 17 describes the fall of Babylon the Great, a city that many scholars interpret as Rome. The prophecy states that this city will be destroyed, and with it, the last remnants of the world's greatest religious institution. But the prophecy doesn't just end with the destruction of Rome. It also foretells the rise of the Antichrist and the final battle between good and evil, Armageddon. According to the Bible, during this time, the false prophet will emerge, aligning himself with the Antichrist to deceive the masses. Some interpretations suggest that this false prophet could be the last pope, who will betray his flock and lead them into darkness. What makes this prophecy even more compelling is the current state of the Catholic Church. Under Pope Francis's leadership, the Church has undergone significant changes, some of which have been met with controversy and resistance. Pope Francis has been a polarizing figure, praised for his progressive stance on social issues, but also criticized by traditionalists who view his reforms as a departure from the Church's core teachings. These divisions within the Church have led some to believe that we are indeed living in the prophesied times of tribulation. The growing tensions within the Church, combined with the global unrest and moral decline, have many wondering if the end is truly near. Adding to this ominous narrative are the recent scandals that have plagued the Vatican. Allegations of corruption, financial misconduct, and cover-ups of abuse cases have eroded the trust of many faithful. These events are often seen as signs of a church in crisis, further fueling speculation that Pope Francis might indeed be the last pope. In parallel, the geopolitical situation around the world seems to mirror the chaos described in apocalyptic prophecies. The Middle East remains a hotbed of conflict, with tensions between nations escalating, and the threat of a larger global confrontation looms ever closer. Could these be the tribulations that St. Malachi and the Bible foretold? Even within the broader Christian community, there is growing concern that we may be approaching the end times. Many pastors and theologians have noted the increasing frequency of natural disasters, pandemics, and wars, all of which align with biblical descriptions of the period preceding the return of Christ. These events, coupled with the internal strife within the Catholic Church, have led some to believe that we are witnessing the fulfillment of St. Malachi's prophecy. The prophecy of the last pope is not just a story from the past. It is a warning that resonates deeply with the present. As we watch the events unfold within the Vatican and around the world, the question remains: is Pope Francis the final pope? And are we on the brink of the apocalypse? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. This prophecy has captured the attention of millions, and its implications are too significant to ignore. For those who hold this prophecy in serious regard, there's a sense of urgency to prepare for what might come. Religious communities are calling for prayer and repentance, urging believers to seek spiritual refuge as the world heads toward uncertain times. Meanwhile, scholars and theologians continue to debate the authenticity of St. Malachi's prophecies, with some dismissing them as a hoax, while others believe they hold a profound truth. As we contemplate the possibility of these prophecies coming true, we must also consider the power of prophecy itself. Throughout history, prophecies have shaped cultures, influenced decisions, and even changed the course of nations. The prophecy of the last pope is no exception. Whether or not it comes to pass, it has already left a lasting impact on those who believe in its message. Furthermore, the implications of this prophecy extend beyond the Catholic Church. If Pope Francis truly is the last pope, it could signal a shift in the global religious landscape. What would the world look like without the Catholic Church as we know it? Could this lead to a rise in other religious movements, or perhaps a more secular world order? These are questions that theologians, historians, and believers alike continue to grapple with. As we move forward, we'll explore other prophecies that may soon come to pass, each one offering a glimpse into a possible future that is both fascinating and terrifying. The next prophecy on our list involves another powerful figure, one who has already left an indelible mark on history and could very well shape the future: Donald Trump. Predictions about Donald Trump that will soon be fulfilled. Donald Trump, a name that resonates across the globe, is not just a political figure but also a central character in several prophecies that have sparked intrigue and debate. As the 45th President of the United States, Trump's rise to power was seen by some as a fulfillment of prophetic visions that had been circulating for decades. But what exactly do these prophecies say about Trump, and how might they shape the future? One of the most discussed prophecies concerning Donald Trump comes from a fireman named Mark Taylor, who claimed to have received a vision in 2011. According to Taylor, God told him that Donald Trump would become president of the United States. At the time, this prediction seemed far-fetched, as Trump was primarily known as a real estate mogul and reality TV star with no political experience. However, as we know, Trump did indeed win the presidency in 2016, shocking the world and leading many to believe that Taylor's prophecy was divinely inspired. Taylor's prophecy didn't stop at Trump's election. He also predicted that Trump would serve 2 terms and that his presidency would bring about a revival in the United States, both spiritually and economically. Taylor claimed that under Trump's leadership, corruption would be exposed and a period of unprecedented prosperity would begin. He also suggested that Trump would have a significant role in the fulfillment of end-time prophecies, positioning him as a key figure in the battle between good and evil. This narrative is echoed in the beliefs of some evangelical Christians, who view Trump as a modern-day Cyrus, the Persian king who, according to the Bible, was anointed by God to free the Jewish people from Babylonian captivity and help rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. These parallels between Trump and Cyrus have been drawn by various religious leaders, who argue that Trump's policies, particularly his strong support for Israel and his decision to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, are evidence of his divine mission. Moreover, Trump's presidency has often been seen through the lens of biblical prophecy, particularly regarding the role of the United States in the end times. Some interpretations of the Book of Revelation suggest that America will play a pivotal role in the events leading up to the second coming of Christ. Trump's America First policy, his confrontational approach to foreign relations, and his focus on strengthening national borders have all been viewed by some as aligning with these prophetic visions. However, not all prophecies about Trump are positive. Some seers and religious figures have issued warnings, suggesting that Trump could be a figure of chaos, a harbinger of division and strife. For instance, in 2016, shortly before the election, a controversial prophecy by self-proclaimed messenger of God, clairvoyant Horacio Villegas, predicted that Trump's election would lead to World War III. Villegas claimed to have visions of a war that would start on the 100th anniversary of the apparition of Our Lady of Fatima in 2017. While this specific date passed without incident, the idea that Trump's presidency could ignite global conflict remains a topic of discussion among prophecy watchers. Beyond the realm of religious prophecy, Trump's political career has also been scrutinized through the lens of secular predictions, such as those of the French seer Nostradamus. Although Nostradamus's quatrains are notoriously vague and open to interpretation, some have drawn connections between Trump and various verses. For example, one quatrain reads, "The great shameless, audacious baller, he will be elected governor of the army. The boldness of his contention, the bridge broken, the city faint from fear." Some interpreters see this as a reference to Trump's bombastic style and his role as commander-in-chief, potentially leading to widespread fear and unrest. Adding to the mystique surrounding Trump are the numerous theories and predictions from various modern-day prophets and conspiracy theorists who view him as a central figure in a global struggle. One such theory is the QAnon movement, which claims that Trump is fighting against a deep state cabal of global elites involved in nefarious activities. Followers of QAnon believe that Trump is working behind the scenes to expose these elites and bring about a new era of justice and righteousness. While this theory has been widely discredited, it has nonetheless gained a significant following and has added to the perception of Trump as a man of destiny. In the context of end-time prophecy, Trump's actions and the events of his presidency are often seen as aligning with the broader narrative of a world in turmoil, moving ever closer to the final days. For instance, Trump's decision to withdraw the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement and his administration's rollbacks on environmental regulations have been interpreted by some as hastening the fulfillment of apocalyptic scenarios involving natural disasters and climate change. These actions are seen by some prophecy interpreters as contributing to the birth pains described in the Bible, which are said to precede the return of Christ. Furthermore, Trump's relationships with other world leaders, particularly those in Russia and the Middle East, have also been scrutinized for their potential prophetic significance. The Bible's Book of Ezekiel, for example, describes a coalition of nations led by Gog and Magog, often associated with Russia, that will rise up against Israel in the end times. Some have speculated that Trump's foreign policy decisions, particularly his dealings with Russia and his strong support for Israel, could be setting the stage for these events to unfold. The focus on Trump as a prophetic figure isn't limited to the United States. Globally, many are watching his actions and policies with a keen interest, seeing them as potential catalysts for major shifts in international relations and global power structures. Whether viewed as a Cyrus-like figure, a potential harbinger of conflict, or simply as a controversial leader whose influence will be felt for years to come, Trump's role in the unfolding narrative of our time cannot be ignored. As we move deeper into 2024, the question remains: what does the future hold for Donald Trump? Will he fulfill the prophecies that have been spoken about him, or will his legacy take a different turn? As with all prophecies, only time will reveal the truth. However, the continued fascination with Trump as a prophetic figure suggests that his influence will be a topic of discussion for years to come, regardless of the outcomes. As we continue our exploration of the prophecies that may soon be fulfilled, we turn our attention to the broader picture: how the world is poised on the edge of self-destruction, and how this aligns with ancient predictions. The next section delves into humanity's power to self-destruct and the ominous warnings from the Bible about the days that lie ahead. Humanity's power to self-destruct. The idea that humanity holds the power to bring about its own destruction is not new. In fact, this concept is deeply rooted in biblical prophecy and has been a recurring theme throughout history. In the Bible, Jesus Christ himself spoke of a time when the world would face unprecedented tribulation, a period so severe that, if not shortened, no flesh would survive. This dire warning is found in Matthew 24:22, where Christ states, "And unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened." This prophecy is particularly alarming when considered in the context of today's world, where the potential for self-annihilation has never been more real. Since the mid-20th century, humanity has developed weapons of mass destruction capable of wiping out all life on Earth. The creation and proliferation of nuclear weapons during the Cold War marked the first time in history that humans had the technological capability to bring about global extinction. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction, MAD, was born out of this reality. A chilling strategy where the use of nuclear weapons by two opposing sides would result in the complete annihilation of both the attacker and the defender. This balance of terror kept the world on edge for decades, and although the Cold War ended, the threat of nuclear conflict remains ever present. In the modern era, the number of nuclear-armed states has increased, and the proliferation of these weapons has made the world a more dangerous place. Today, there are at least 8 nations with nuclear capabilities, and the risk of a nuclear conflict has only grown with rising geopolitical tensions. The ongoing conflicts in regions like the Middle East, and the increasing assertiveness of nations such as North Korea and Iran, have only added to the global instability. The Bible's prophecy of humanity's potential self-destruction seems more relevant than ever as nations continue to develop and stockpile these devastating weapons. The prospect of a nuclear arms race in volatile regions, particularly the Middle East, further exacerbates the risk. The idea that a single miscalculation or a rogue leader could trigger a catastrophic conflict is a frightening reality that looms over us. In addition to nuclear weapons, the rise of advanced technologies has introduced new avenues for potential self-destruction. Cyber warfare, for example, has become a significant concern in recent years. The ability to disrupt critical infrastructure, financial systems, and even military operations through cyber attacks poses a new kind of threat that could lead to widespread chaos and destruction. Moreover, advancements in artificial intelligence, AI, and biotechnology have raised ethical and existential questions about the future of humanity. The development of autonomous weapons systems, often referred to as killer robots, has sparked debate over the potential for AI-driven warfare. The fear is that these machines, once deployed, could operate beyond human control, leading to unintended and potentially disastrous consequences. Similarly, biotechnology has the power to both heal and harm. While breakthroughs in genetic engineering and synthetic biology hold the promise of curing diseases and improving human health, they also carry the risk of being used to create deadly biological weapons. The COVID-19 pandemic has underscored the devastating impact that a global health crisis can have, and the possibility of an engineered pathogen being used as a weapon is a chilling prospect. In this context, the warnings in biblical prophecy take on a new significance. The notion that humanity could bring about its own destruction is not just a religious belief, but a tangible possibility in the modern world. The Bible's prediction that these days of tribulation would be shortened for the elect's sake suggests that divine intervention will ultimately prevent humanity from completely destroying itself. This idea offers a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak scenario. However, the path to that intervention may be fraught with suffering and devastation. The Bible describes a time of great tribulation, a period of unprecedented hardship and turmoil that will test the faith and resilience of believers. This period is often associated with the end times, when the forces of evil will rise and the world will be engulfed in conflict. In addition to the threat of self-destruction through weapons of mass destruction and advanced technology, the world is also facing other forms of existential threats. Climate change, for example, has the potential to cause widespread environmental degradation, leading to resource shortages, mass migrations, and conflicts over dwindling resources. The increasing frequency and severity of natural disasters, such as hurricanes, wildfires, and floods, are already being felt around the globe. The Bible does not explicitly mention climate change, but it does speak of a time when the earth will be shaken by natural disasters and environmental upheavals. In Revelation 16:8-9, for example, it is written, "The fourth angel poured out his bowl on the sun, and the sun was given power to scorch people with fire. They were seared by the intense heat, and they cursed the name of God, who had control over these plagues, but they refused to repent and glorify him." This passage has been interpreted by some as a reference to the extreme weather events and heat waves that are becoming more common as a result of global warming. The convergence of these various threats, nuclear war, cyber warfare, AI and biotechnology, and climate change, paints a sobering picture of the potential for humanity's self-destruction. Yet, the Bible offers a message of hope, reminding believers that despite the darkness that may come, there is a promise of salvation for those who remain faithful. The prophecy that those days will be shortened suggests that while humanity may push itself to the brink, divine intervention will ultimately prevent total annihilation. As we navigate the challenges of the modern world, the warnings of biblical prophecy serve as a reminder of the fragile nature of our existence. The power to destroy ourselves is within our grasp, but so too is the power to change course and seek a path of peace and reconciliation. Whether through divine intervention or human effort, the future of humanity remains uncertain, but not without hope. Next, we will explore another pressing issue that has been prophesied: the role of climate change and global disasters in shaping our future. We will examine how these natural phenomena align with ancient predictions and what they mean for humanity's survival. Climate change and global disasters. In recent years, the world has witnessed an alarming increase in extreme weather events, natural disasters, and environmental crises that seem to be spiraling out of control. From devastating hurricanes and wildfires to record-breaking heat waves and floods, the signs of a changing climate are becoming impossible to ignore. These events are not only wreaking havoc on communities around the globe, but are also seen by many as the fulfillment of ancient prophecies that warned of a time when the earth itself would rebel against its inhabitants. Nostradamus, the 16th century French seer, is perhaps one of the most famous figures whose prophecies are often linked to climate change. In his quatrains, Nostradamus wrote about fires from the sky and great floods, which many have interpreted as references to the natural disasters we are experiencing today. One of his verses reads, "The dry earth will grow more parched, and there will be great floods when it rains," which seems to describe the intense droughts followed by heavy downpours that have become increasingly common in many parts of the world. The Bible also contains numerous references to natural disasters and environmental upheavals as signs of the end times. In the book of Revelation, the Apostle John describes a series of catastrophic events that will occur in the last days, including earthquakes, famines, and plagues. Revelation 16:18-21 speaks of a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake, and so great. It also mentions hailstones weighing about 100 pounds each that will fall from the sky. While these descriptions are often interpreted symbolically, they also bear a striking resemblance to some of the extreme weather phenomena we are witnessing today. One of the most pressing concerns of our time is the impact of global warming. The rapid rise in global temperatures has led to a host of environmental problems, including melting polar ice caps, rising sea levels, and the acidification of oceans. These changes are contributing to the loss of biodiversity, the displacement of communities, and the destabilization of ecosystems. The Bible does not specifically mention climate change, but it does speak of a time when the earth will be devoured by fire. In 2 Peter 3:10, it is written, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief, in which the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the elements will be destroyed with intense heat, and the earth and its works will be burned up." Some interpret this passage as a prophetic warning of the environmental destruction that could result from unchecked global warming. The increasing frequency and intensity of wildfires are another sign that many believe points to the fulfillment of prophecy. In recent years, wildfires have ravaged vast swaths of land in Australia, California, and the Amazon rainforest, destroying homes, wildlife habitats, and even entire towns. The prophet Joel, in the Old Testament, speaks of a time when fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is like the Garden of Eden before them, but behind them, a desolate wilderness. Joel 2:3. This imagery is eerily reminiscent of the scenes of devastation left behind by modern-day wildfires, where once lush landscapes are reduced to ash and cinders. Flooding is another disaster that has become increasingly common and severe in recent years. From the catastrophic floods in Europe and Asia to the hurricanes that have battered the Gulf Coast of the United States, the destructive power of water has left a trail of devastation in its wake. In the Bible, floods are often associated with divine judgment, most notably in the story of Noah's Ark. However, the book of Isaiah also contains a prophecy that speaks of a time when the waters of the sea will rage and the rivers will overflow. Isaiah 17:12. While this passage is typically understood as a metaphor for nations in turmoil, it also resonates with the literal flooding we are witnessing today. One of the most concerning aspects of these disasters is their interconnectedness. Climate change is not just causing isolated incidents of extreme weather, it is creating a cascade of effects that exacerbate other global issues. For example, prolonged droughts can lead to crop failures and food shortages, which in turn can spark conflict and mass migration. Rising sea levels threaten to inundate coastal cities, displacing millions of people and leading to economic instability. The combination of these factors creates a feedback loop that accelerates the pace of environmental degradation and increases the likelihood of future disasters. The convergence of these events has led some to believe that we are living in the times foretold by ancient prophets, a period of great tribulation that will precede the return of Christ. The Apostle Paul warned in Romans 8:22 that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time. This metaphor of the earth groaning in labor is often used to describe the natural disasters and environmental crises we are witnessing, suggesting that they are signs of the impending birth of a new era. Despite the dire warnings and the alarming trends, there is still hope. Many believe that these prophecies are not meant to instill fear, but to encourage repentance and a return to righteous living. The Bible emphasizes that these disasters are not the end, but rather a precursor to a new beginning, a time when God will restore the earth to its former glory. In Revelation 21:1, John writes, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea." This promise of a new creation offers a glimmer of hope in the midst of the current environmental crisis. The role of humanity in shaping the future of the planet cannot be overstated. While the prophecies warn of destruction, they also call for stewardship and care for the earth. The choices we make today, how we treat the environment, how we respond to climate change, and how we prepare for future disasters will determine whether we contribute to the fulfillment of these prophecies or work towards averting them. In conclusion, the increasing occurrence of natural disasters and environmental crises is seen by many as a sign that we are living in prophetic times. Whether one views these events as the fulfillment of ancient prophecies or as a result of human activity, the message is clear. The earth is in a state of turmoil, and action is needed to address the challenges we face. As we continue to explore the prophecies that may soon be fulfilled, we will turn our attention to the role of Jerusalem in end-time events, a city that has long been at the center of biblical prophecy and global conflict. Re-establishment of the Jewish homeland. The re-establishment of the Jewish homeland in the Middle East, specifically in Jerusalem, is one of the most significant events in biblical prophecy. The formation of the modern state of Israel in 1948 was a pivotal moment, not just in world history, but in the fulfillment of ancient prophecies that have shaped the beliefs of millions of people around the world. This event marked the beginning of what many see as the unfolding of the end times, a period of prophetic significance that has been anticipated for centuries. The Bible is replete with references to the return of the Jewish people to their ancestral land. One of the most well-known prophecies is found in the book of Ezekiel, where God promises to gather the Israelites from all the nations and bring them back to their own land. In Ezekiel 36:24 it is written, "For I will take you out of the nations, I will gather you from all the countries and bring you back into your own land." This prophecy, which seemed impossible for nearly 2,000 years, became a reality in the mid-20th century with the establishment of Israel. The significance of Jerusalem in these prophecies cannot be overstated. Jerusalem is often referred to as the City of Peace, yet it has been the focal point of conflict for millennia. According to biblical prophecy, Jerusalem will play a central role in the events leading up to the second coming of Christ. The prophet Zechariah speaks of a time when all the nations of the earth will gather against Jerusalem, leading to a climactic battle. In Zechariah 12:2-3, it is written, "Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it." The re-establishment of Israel and the control of Jerusalem by the Jewish people are seen by many as a direct fulfillment of these prophecies. The capture of East Jerusalem during the Six-Day War in 1967, which brought the entire city under Israeli control, was another significant event that many believe aligns with biblical predictions. The return of the Jewish people to their homeland and their control over Jerusalem are viewed as necessary precursors to the coming of the Messiah and the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. However, the re-establishment of Israel has not come without controversy and conflict. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains one of the most enduring and contentious issues in modern geopolitics. The struggle for control over Jerusalem, a city that is sacred to Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike, has led to numerous wars and ongoing tensions in the region. For many, this conflict is not just a political issue, but a fulfillment of the prophecies that foretold of a time when Jerusalem would be at the center of global strife. The Bible also predicts that the Jewish people will face great tribulation in the end times, a period of intense persecution and suffering that will precede the coming of the Messiah. In Daniel 12:1, it is written, "And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book." This time of trouble is often associated with the Great Tribulation, a period of unparalleled suffering that will test the faith of the Jewish people and the world at large. As the world watches the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, many are reminded of these ancient prophecies. The tension between Israel and its neighbors, the disputes over Jerusalem, and the broader geopolitical struggles in the region all seem to echo the warnings of the prophets. The ongoing negotiations, peace efforts, and periodic outbreaks of violence are seen by some as part of the larger narrative of biblical prophecy unfolding in real time. The significance of Jerusalem in end-time prophecy is further emphasized by the New Testament. Jesus himself spoke of the importance of Jerusalem in the last days. In Luke 21:20-24, Jesus warns, "When you see Jerusalem being surrounded by armies, you will know that its desolation is near. Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled." This passage has been interpreted by many as a reference to the events of 70 AD, when Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans, but also as a prophecy concerning the end times, when the city will once again be the focus of global conflict. The idea that Jerusalem is the epicenter of biblical prophecy is not just a belief held by Christians. Many Jews also see the modern state of Israel as the fulfillment of God's promise to their ancestors. The return to the land of Israel and the establishment of a Jewish state are viewed as the beginning of the redemption process, which will culminate in the coming of the Messiah. This belief is central to the faith and identity of many Jewish people, and it shapes their understanding of the current events in the region. As we look to the future, the question remains, what role will Jerusalem play in the unfolding of end-time events? Will the city continue to be a source of conflict and division, or will it become the seat of God's kingdom on earth? The prophecies concerning Jerusalem are complex and multi-layered, and their fulfillment may not be fully understood until they come to pass. In conclusion, the re-establishment of the Jewish homeland and the control of Jerusalem are seen by many as significant milestones in the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. These events have not only shaped the modern history of the Middle East, but have also reignited the ancient belief that we are living in the last days. As the world continues to grapple with the challenges and conflicts in the region, the prophecies concerning Israel and Jerusalem remain a focal point for believers around the world.